Hello, dear students. Greetings of the day. I welcome you to the online classes of Bloomingbird Squared School. Today, we are going to have the third lecture of chapter 3, which is the Prime Minister and its Council of Minister. Today's lecture, we are going to study about the position and power of Prime Minister. Position and power of Prime Minister. So we know that President is the nominal, or you can say constitutional head of the country, whereas Prime Minister is the real head of the country, right? So this real head of the country, along with his council of minister, is responsible for the governance of entire country by making various policies and by the execution of those policies, right? So now the prime minister is having some relations, okay, with the president also. So how prime minister, which kind of position and which kind of power prime minister is having, and what is the relation of this power with the president, that we are going to study, prime minister and the president. So we know that all authorities are vested in president, but those authority cannot be practiced by president by his own will. Okay, he need to have an advice of prime minister. So you can say all the real power lies in the hands of prime minister, right? So the prime minister is the principal advisor of the president. So president here becomes nominal head, and whereas the prime minister is becoming real executive head of the Indian Union. Okay, then uh, president, we know that president summon and prorogue the session of the parliament. Okay, even dissolve the Lok Sabha, right? President summon, prorogue, and even dissolve Lok Sabha of session of the parliament, right? So it is president, but on whose advice president summon and prorogue session of parliament? On the advice of prime minister here. Okay, again, so prime minister is having more power. Then the prime minister means prime minister is the prime minister is having real power. Okay, and prime minister works with the help of that constitutional head of our country, who the constitutional head of the country is president. Then the prime minister choose the ministers, right, and on his advice only president appoint council of ministers, right? We have studied that here the council of ministers is appointed by president on the advice of prime minister, right? Then again, we have studied that governors, CAG, and even ambassadors are appointed by president on the advice of prime minister. Then prime minister is a link between council of minister and president. Okay, ministers themselves cannot meet with the president and convey their messages to the president. Whatever decision they take, that is to be conveyed through prime minister. So prime minister is a mediator between council of minister as well as president. Then the president can ask council of minister to reconsider any matter which has not been considered by the cabinet, on which a decision has been taken by a minister. The president may call for information regarding the affairs of the union, and the prime minister has to furnish such information, right? So president can ask for information on various policies of the government, and prime minister will have to furnish, will have to provide those that information to president. Then we will study about the prime minister and the cabinet. What is the relation between prime minister and the cabinet? So we know that prime minister is the leader of the cabinet. Okay, he is the leader of the cabinet. Suppose if there are 40 members in a cabinet, okay, then he will be the leader of all those 40 members. Then second, the power to allocate portfolios, okay, and reshuffle the council of ministers. So we know that some people are one that after once the government is elected, then one person is appointed as minister of law, another is as minister of defense, okay, railway minister, like that. So who is the person who decide all these things, who will be holding which portfolio, which position. So these portfolios are awarded by prime minister. Prime minister decide that whether Simra will be the defense minister or home minister or anything else. Okay, then power to select and dismiss minister. So PM has power to select as well as dismiss ministers. How he can dismiss minister? He will ask president to dismiss a minister and dismiss and that minister will be dismissed by president. Okay, that we have studied, that comes under individual responsibility, article 75 clause B. We have already studied that. Then power to direct and coordinate policies. Okay, so he direct as well as coordinate policies. If they are framing any policy regarding health or regarding security or regarding any internal or external affairs. Okay, so that is completed by the coordinate that require coordination of different departments or different ministries. Okay, so prime minister uh, seeks the cooperation or coordination of these ministries. Then resignation of the prime minister. The prime minister's resignation implies the resignation of the whole cabinet. What is the relation between the resignation of PM and the council of minister? If prime minister gives its resignation, then entire council of minister will have to resign. Getting or not? If prime minister gives its resignation, then entire council of minister will have to resign. Now we will study about the prime minister inside the parliament. Okay, uh, inside the parliament, he is the leader of the Lok Sabha, as he belongs to a party who is having majority in Lok Sabha. So generally he is accepted as the leader of Lok Sabha. Then spokesperson of the government. So he is having council of ministers. He is the his party has formed the government. So prime minister is considered as the spokesperson of the government. Whatever he will speak means, okay, he will deliver the message of government to the parliament. Then defender of government policies. So when they make some policies, then it is the prime minister who defends such policies. Like suppose earlier CAA very controversial bill was there, triple talaq very controversial bill was there. Okay, and abrogation of you can say article 370 and 35A was very controversial. So in that time, it was the PM who defended these decisions. Okay, so prime minister will defend its the defender of the government policy, will be the defender of the government policies. Intervention in case of controversial issues. Okay, so if some controversial issue is there, then he will intervene in between and will brought the entire house to one common point. Okay, then after that, prime minister as a leader of the nation. So the prime minister represents nation. When he speaks, the whole nation is supposed to be speaking through him. Okay, that is well understood. And during the critical conditions like war, right, or any aggression, even the opposition support prime minister. Then prime minister decides what kind of relations India would have with other countries, right? He is the decision maker for foreign policies. Clear? And so at the time of general elections, party declares their prime ministerial candidate. Okay, and that candidate, okay, it is that candidate only. Okay, against or in favor of whom people cast their vote. Okay, and make a form a new government, right? Then check on authority of the prime minister. How the authority of prime minister can be checked, right? uh, so if prime minister is there, then he's having uh, he's very powerful, right? But his authority can be checked by ministers. If he's not having support of ministers, then what will happen? The no confidence motion can be can be passed. Okay, and the entire council of ministers will have to be reformed, right? Then in case of coalition government, if government is coalition of different parties have joined together to have grouped together to make a government, then in that case the prime minister is having a fear of losing the support of the other parties. Okay, in that case also his power or his authority will be checked. Okay, and then opposition parties always look for a chance to criticize the prime minister. The Press and public opinion act as effective checks on prime minister's authority. Then collective responsibility, article 75 clause 3. I have already told you what is collective responsibility. Responsibility means the council of minister is responsible towards Lok Sabha collectively, okay, according to article 75 clause 3, right? If only if even one person or one member of council of Lok Sabha, council of minister uh, is not enjoying the support of Lok Sabha, okay, then the entire council of ministers will have to resign. Then the principle of collective responsibility implies, what is the principle of collective responsibility? That the decision taken in the meetings of the cabinet are equally applicable to all ministers. Okay, it doesn't matter whether that minister is favoring that decision or not. Okay, or that minister is liking that decision or not. Okay, that minister will have to support the decision. Okay, then all ministers jointly share the responsibility for the government's policies, right? The ministers of council of ministers, they are responsible for the government policies being made, okay, even if that policy is being made against the will of a particular minister, okay, he will also be responsible towards the policies, okay. Then a vote of no confidence against one minister is a vote against the whole ministry. Such a minister that has lost the confidence of Lok Sabha has to resign. Okay, this was clause uh, Article 75, clause C. Now, Article 75, clause B, individual responsibility is there. Individual responsibility, I have told you, the ministers are individual responsible to the president, that is, they hold office during the pleasure of the president and may be dismissed by him, of course, on the advice of the prime minister, even when they may have the confidence of the legislature, right? So if one person is trouble making, okay, for the council of minister, or PM is not liking a particular minister, then he can ask president to remove that minister, and that minister will be removed, okay, from the council of minister, right? Council of ministers, and that is called individual responsibility, right? Individual responsibility towards the president, okay. So means the ministers hold their office during the pleasure of the president, that we have already studied. This was all about the chapter. I hope you would have studied that. The powers and functions of the cabinet will not be tested in exam. Okay, whereas the powers of position and powers of prime ministers will be asked. Okay, so learn accordingly. Thank you so much.